Hello, it's ChewDog Charts. Now, 45 days after the end of each quarter, funds of a certain size are required to disclose their long equity holdings. Berkshire Hathaway came out with their filing on Tuesday. It's called a 13F. Based on the 13F, Berkshire added Bank of America, Apple, Synchrony Financial, and Monsanto. Additionally, there were some positions that were cut. So let's take a look. Based on the Bloomberg Billionaire Index, Warren Buffett is third richest at a total wealth of $78.8 billion. He's right behind Bill Gates at $88.4 billion and Jeff Bezos, who just recently took the top position at $96.4 billion. Warren Buffett is the chairman and largest shareholder of Berkshire Hathaway, the Omaha, Nebraska-based investment company. The publicly traded business owns Geico, Clayton Homes, and Mid-American Energy, and large stakes in Coca-Cola, American Express, Wells Fargo, and Apple. Berkshire's 52 average annual return is 20.8%. And as you can see, Warren Buffett's net worth has been increasing. Looking at this last chart here, which is for 1 year, he reached over 80 billion, but recently has declined under 80 billion. Looking at the chart from as far back as March of 2012, you can see that his wealth has increased substantially. What you're looking at here is the 20-year monthly chart on Bank of America. And during the third quarter, Berkshire Hathaway announced plans to exercise its Bank of America warrants once the dividend rate increase took effect, which it did. Buffett invested in Bank of America back in 2011 as Bank of America was dealing with its legal troubles related to mortgages. According to the filing, the recent 13F filing, Berkshire Hathaway last held 679 million shares in the third quarter, a position that was valued at just over $17.2 billion. Bank of America is Berkshire Hathaway's fifth largest equity holding. And we can see here that Bank of America bottomed in the early 2009 period, then had a move up, a consolidation into 2012, and then a subsequent rise with a small correction in 2016, and then again another rise into the current period with midday today, the 15th, a price of $26.70 per share. The MACD shows again the bottoming in 2009 all the way to the small correction consolidation into 2016 and then again the subsequent rise, but it looks like the MACD, the fast line, is attempting to move toward the trigger line and perhaps maybe move through. We'll see here. It's going to take another couple of months before that happens, but we can see here in the histogram, the MACD histogram, that it is weakening. We got a little bit of ways to go, but that's the overall direction. The momentum is slightly negative. Nothing significant. Moving through the RSI, the Relative Strength Index, we're reading a 73.16 figure with, again, maybe just some slight negativity with the lower highs. Moving into the stochastics, looks pretty good. We may have a sawtooth come down here with an attempt to move through the slow line, just as we did here maybe in the 2013 time frame, but we'll see if there's anything more to that. It's going to take another few months to a quarter or so. The volume looks healthy, And moving into the Williams, we also see maybe some slight negativity. Nothing to be really concerned about at this point in time, just something to keep an eye on. Moving back up to the price chart, we did have a high way back in 2006 above 50, so we're about half that right now, but at least it looks like it's been moving in the correct direction. A few small red flags, but nothing significant to worry about with regard to Bank of America. So now let's go ahead and take a look at Apple. The purchase of Apple stock by Berkshire Hathaway is somewhat surprising to myself and perhaps others simply because Buffett has always shied away from technology companies. However, Buffett, through Berkshire Hathaway, purchased 3.9 million more shares of Apple, bringing its stake to just over 134 million shares, a position valued at about 20.7 billion at the end of the quarter. Apple is Berkshire's third largest equity holding. And as we can see here, Apple has had a relatively decent move since going back to 2009. It's had a few consolidation periods here in 2013 and early 2016. We seem to be moving up with a current intraday price of $169.43. Moving into the MACD, it's got a nice wave structure with the bottoms and the tops here, as you can see. The last bottom was in, say, mid-2016, and we continue to reach higher here, a fairly decent separation between the fast and the slow line, which indicates some very good strength. As you can see, the histogram here, we are reaching toward 4, the level of 4, and we seem to be relatively consistent at those levels. My concern would be how much longer are we going to stay up there? But there's only maybe a little bit of a sign with regard to any weakening. But the momentum looks like it's heading up still. Moving down through the relative strength, and this is what I was indicating has been to be a little bit of weakness. The RSI, we're at 73.59, but as you can see here, the sawtoothing, we have lower highs. So that is one sign that I don't like to see. Oftentimes the RSI can be a forward indicator. Looking at the stochastic looks fine. Perhaps some more sawtoothing up here in this area, but we are in the elevated levels above 80, which oftentimes signifies an overbought condition, but Apple has been able to stay above 80 for extended periods of time, so nothing significant there. The one thing additionally that a little bit of concern is perhaps the declining volume. We see that the volume throughout the last several years has been on a slight downward trajectory, but a good part of that also is the absolute price increase for Apple. Looking at the Williams, nothing significant at this level here. It looks to be fine. So for now, the price continues to ratchet upward, but let's keep our eye on some of those indicators, such as the volume and then the RSI. I want to watch the RSI, see what that does here coming in the next few months to quarter. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at Monsanto. This is a 20-year monthly chart on Monsanto. And Monsanto is a very healthy stock as by the chart, with the bottom in the mid-2010 time frame, perhaps a year after a lot of other stocks bottomed. But we had a good subsequent rise with a consolidation in 2015-2016 time frame, and then the subsequent increase into the current date, with maybe just a small drop off here recently. I'm not sure if you can see that at this point here. The current price intraday is $117.39. So that last drop off, let's go take a look and see if we can find anything in the oscillators. The MACD looks like it is attempting to turn and move toward the trigger line. We'll see what happens with that, if it moves through or if it does some additional sawtoothing like we've seen in this time frame here. Moving down into the histogram naturally shows a slight downward increase. Not a real concern at this point in time, something to keep an eye on. The momentum is also relatively low, but it's been somewhat stable here, so no real concern. Moving down to the RSI. We are at a level of 59.57 with the recent decline moving from about what is this, the 70 level, moving down. So that's a little bit of a concern, not significant, but something you keep an eye on. And I think that is also mirrored here in the stochastic. It looks like we have a move through the slow line. We're still in elevated positions above 80, and we've moved through the slow line times before with maybe a subsequent rise, perhaps a year later. But we'll keep an eye on this one because that might portend a little bit more selling here. Now the volume, a slight decline in the last, say, year and a half or so at this level. And then the Williams. The Williams is showing us a little more of a decline. We're now below this level here and heading down to the midline or the -50. So again, not a real concern, but just some oscillators that you need to keep your eye on to see what happens here. Price-wise, it doesn't look too bad. We're still above the 20 and 50 and 200 EMAs. So that's all good, showing strength. So keep your eye on it. Now, there are three other stocks that I wanted to talk about a little bit. We're not going to go into the charts just because of the time, but based on the 13F, Buffett also trimmed shares in IBM, Wells Fargo, and Charter Communications. Berkshire Hathaway reduced its IBM stake to about 1/3, selling just over 17 million shares. Berkshire Hathaway last held 37 million shares of IBM, and it's a position now valued around $5.73 billion. Berkshire also took Wells Fargo and trimmed that holding by about 3.75 million shares. Wells Fargo remained Berkshire Hathaway's largest equity position with 464.23 million shares, which was valued at more than $25.6 billion. And Buffett also cut Charter Communications, cut it by about 10%, selling over 954,000 shares in the quarter. And now its current position in Charter Communications is valued at about $3.09 billion. We can take a look at some of these positions that Berkshire Hathaway sold. But for today, that's all. This is ChewDog Charts. Thank you.